Good evening. Let us begin with the current affairs session for July 5. So let us have a look at the important articles. So the very first article says that constitution at the center, okay? At the center in the sense, constitution is at the prime stage or it's at the important position. So article it's from the perspective of polity, from the main perspective GS2. So what is the ongoing story? Upender Bakshi, writer, writes that it would appear that all the political parties and their leaders they have developed the image of affinity for the constitution. So article the constitution at the center, it means that everyone is giving the due importance to the constitution has attained a central position, and everyone has developed a new image showing affinity affection towards the constitution of India. So this was evident from the 18th Lok Sabha session. Like we know that also during the election, the campaigning was being done by the opposition to protect the constitution, right? So that was being highlighted throughout the general elections also, and even during the oath taking ceremony for the 18th Lok Sabha session, we see that many people's oath had an additional utterance. So along with the oath, they had an additional utterance, and that additional utterance was Jai Samvidhan. Okay, so everyone is showing their love and affection towards the Constitution of India, and Constitution is at the central stage. Okay, so what are the key takeaways from this article? So it mentions about article number 99. So you need to remember this since it is given in the newspaper. So article number 99, it basically prescribes that every member of either house of the parliament, that is every MP, okay, has to take an oath or affirmation. Okay, so every MP has to take an oath or an affirmation, and this is in accordance to the third schedule of the Indian Constitution. So we know that the third schedule of the Indian Constitution deals with the oath and affirmation. It gives a list of the 9 entities whose oaths and affirmations are mentioned in the third schedule. Okay, so article number 99, it says that MPs, that is the either members of the parliament, that is either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they should take an oath or affirmation in accordance to the third schedule. Okay, and it mentions that the oath mentions that he or she shall bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as established by law. Okay. Now, you might have seen that this year the polity section involved many factual questions. Like there was a question with respect to parts of the Indian Constitution. So, on the similar note, in future you can expect a question on schedules. Okay. So now, since here we are discussing the third schedule, so let us have a look at the whose oaths and affirmations are covered in the third schedule. Okay, so the third schedule of Indian Constitution deals with the oaths and affirmation for 9 entities. Okay, so who are these 9 entities? Let us try to understand. Okay, so these entities are divided at the central level and at the state level. So at the central level, you have Union Ministers of India. You can see over here, Union Ministers of India. Okay, at the central level. Similarly, who will be there at the state level? State level, there will be state ministers. Okay. So as we have union ministers at the union level, I'll write over here union ministers, and then you have state ministers. Then the next is parliament election candidates. So those who are the candidates who are standing for the parliamentary elections. Okay. So parliamentary elections candidates. So here you will have the similar thing, state legislature election candidates. Okay, so here you will have state legislature election candidates. Like you must be aware that before contesting elections, you have to go and you have to take an oath in front of the officer appointed by the election commission, right? So that is basically this oath. Okay. Then once you get elected, MPs for the parliament and for the state legislature members. So MPs over here, here you have state legislature members. Okay. Then apart from this, Supreme Court judges, and here you have High Court judges. So SC judges and SC judges. So these are total 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And apart from that, you have CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General. You can see over here, there's a CAG being mentioned. So 9 entities oaths are covered in third schedule. Now one note which you need to remember that third schedule it does not contain oath and affirmation for president and the governor. So there are separate articles for it. You need to just remember as of now that the president and governor oaths are not covered in the third schedule. Okay. I hope these things are pretty clear. Now let's continue with the article. So one thing we have understood that the article talks about a constitution has attained a very primary position and everyone is showing their affinity towards the constitution. And then it mentions that article number 99 says that every MP has to take an oath, and that oath itself mentions that you have to show your faith and allegiance towards the Constitution of India. Then the oath which can talk, then there's an oath within the third schedule, there's an oath for judges. Okay, so the oath of office for Justice of Supreme Court and for the High Court of India, it includes that I will duly and faithfully to the best of my ability, knowledge, and judgment perform the duties of my office without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and that I will uphold the constitution and law. So for others, it is just a simple oath that you have to be truthful and you have to show your allegiance towards the constitution. But for the judges, there is an extraordinary oath where they say that they will perform their duty without fear and favor. That is, without any fear, they will do the justice. They will deliver the judgment without any ill will, without any fear, without any favor, and they will always uphold the constitution. Okay. Apart from that, the article also talks about Keshwananda Bharati doctrine. Okay, so as we all know, Keshwananda Bharati case, 2024, it completed 50 years. Okay, so Golden Jubilee was being celebrated across the different law schools. Golden Jubilee of the landmark Keshwananda Bharati judgment. Okay. So, the article talks about the important intricacies of Keshwananda Bharati decision. So, what are the outcomes of the Keshwananda Bharati decision? It says that first, constitutional powers are plenary powers, supreme within their decisional domains. Okay, so within their respective domains, the constitutional powers are supreme, but simultaneously, these powers are limited and accountable. We all know that how they are accountable and limited. They are limited by the basic structure doctrine, right? So basic structure doctrine limits the constitutional powers, right? So parliament can make the laws, they can do the amendment, but subject to certain limitation. And that limitation is set by the basic structure doctrine. And who decides the basic structure doctrine? It is the judiciary who is a final decision maker as to what constitutes the basic structure doctrine. Okay, so it further goes on saying that there are no sovereign powers, but only supreme constitutional powers provided within the constitutional limits. Okay, so that itself defines constitutionalism. Okay, that is, everything is subject to certain limitations. You cannot cross that limitations, right? You have to abide by those things, the things, that is the basic structure. You have to preserve the basic structure. Okay, so that is being mentioned over here. Anything, the power or the process of judicial review, judicial power, everything, nothing is above the Constitution of India. Okay, so this is mentioned in this article. Now let us try a question from Civil Services Preliminary Examination 2020. Okay, so consider the following statements. Statement number 1 says that Constitution of India defines the basic structure in terms of federalism, secularism, fundamental rights, and democracy. Okay. Now, see, very first thing, basic structure is not defined in the Indian Constitution. Basic structure is the outcome of the Keshwananda Bharati case. So please remember, basic structure is nowhere defined in the Constitution. It is not defined. So the statement number 1 is absolutely wrong. Then, the Constitution of India provides for judicial review to safeguard the citizens' liberties and to preserve the ideals on which Constitution is based. See, now it provides, yes, it provides for judicial review in Article number 13. But remember that judicial review, the word is not mentioned. Okay, as such, the judicial review, the word is not mentioned. Fine, so that you need to remember. But yes, Constitution do provide for judicial review. It says that any law which is inconsistent with the fundamental rights should be declared to be null and void. Okay, so though the judicial review, the term is not clearly mentioned, but yes, Constitution provides for the judicial review. So here the statement number 2 is absolutely clear. If the statement number 2 would have been that constitution provides for the word judicial review, or it defines the word judicial review, then it would have been definitely a wrong statement. But here it says that it provides for judicial review, so then it is correct. Okay, so the answer is 2 only. Let's come to the next article. So the next article, it's with respect to disagree or agree, the best of both sides. Okay. So from the film's perspective, current event of national and international importance, and from mains perspective, GS1 and GS2. GS1, Indian heritage and culture. GS2, international relations. Okay. So what is the ongoing story? So we have a Mission Olympic cell under the Sports Ministry, Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs. So, under this ministry, there is Mission Olympic Cell. And Mission Olympic Cell has included certain 6 sports which they want that should be included in the Olympics 2036. Okay. So, and among the 6 sports, yoga is one of them. So we can read over here, yoga is among the 6 sports that the Mission Olympic Cell under the Sports Ministry feels can be recommended for inclusion in the Olympics 2036. The other 5 sports are 2020 cricket. So recently we saw India emerge to be victorious one. We won the World Cup. So that, kabaddi, chess, squash, and kho-kho. And the 6th one is yoga. Okay, so they want that all the 6 of them should be included in the Olympics 2036. Now there are different takeaways, there are different opinions whether yoga can be eligible or can be qualified to be in the Olympics, or what are the like whether it should be or whether it should not be included. So let us try to understand. Okay, so Tara Das, writer, says that genuine yoga have no space for competition. So basically, yoga deals with your mind, your body, and it's a synchronization, it's a union between your mind, your body, your soul. So there cannot be a competition for uh, such a game. Game means yoga is not a game, it's a practice. So you cannot compete for a practice like a yoga. Okay, so that is being said by Tara Das. Okay, so Tara Das says that the sports ministry is considering the possibility of pitching yoga for inclusion in Olympics 2036. But can a mind, body, spirit practice can also be a competitive sport? Okay, so yoga, it's a practice. So which includes the sync between a union between your mind, your spirit, your soul, your body. So there cannot be a competition for such a practice. Okay. Apart from that, you must be aware that the Patanjali gave Ashtanga Yoga. So of the 8 limbs, asana is just one limb of yoga. There are other 7 limbs also. So if you want yoga to be competitive, you will be just focusing on one limb, that is the posture or the asanas. But there are other 7 limbs also. So the author says that if you are just focusing on one limb, that is, you are just focusing on the asanas, then you are disregarding, disrespecting the other 7 limbs. Okay. Further, there are different parts of yoga, like you have karma yogi, jnana yogi, bhakti yogi. So these are different. So how can you make a systematic plan to include yoga into Olympics, taking into consideration all this comprehensive and dynamic nature of the yogic practices? So definitely the author says that the genuine yoga, the true yoga, have no space for competition, and competition have no space for yoga. So this is one side of the picture. On the contrary, we have one more author, Mihir Vasavada. He says that why not, or why India is shying from including yoga into Olympics. So basically he says that India should pitch yoga to be included in the Olympics 2036. Okay, so on what grounds, what are the grounds on which he's saying so? So basically, first of all, he has given the definition of sport as per Oxford Dictionary. Okay, so Oxford Dictionary defines sport as an activity involving physical exertion and skill. Okay, involving physical exertion, and there is a skill, one regulated by a certain set of rules and customs, in which an individual or a team competes against another or others. Okay, so Oxford definition defines sport as a physical activity and a skill which is regulated by certain rules and customs in which individual or team competes against another or others. Okay. So according to Mihir Vasavada, yoga meets this definition. So he says that definitely if the definition of the sport is met by yoga, so definitely yoga can be included. Okay. Then according to Statista, so the statistics is being taken about how many people practice yoga. So it says that yoga remains more commonly practiced sport among women in all the countries. Okay, in all the countries, because you don't have to go out, or you can sit at your home and you can perform it. So in 2023, 33.6 million people in US alone practice yoga. So if you look at the international acclamation and approval being given to yoga, because so many people are practicing it. And lastly, do the global competition rules allow a sport like yoga to be a part of the major games? Okay, so it says that uh, the rules, the general rules that allow a particular game to be a part of Olympics. So such rules, do they apply to yoga? So for Olympics, so it says that for Olympics, so there is an international Olympics committee, right? Yeah. So it gives a host nation right to include one or more sports that are popular in their region. Okay, so whomsoever is a host country of the Olympics, so they can include the sports which are popular in their region in the Olympics. Okay, so at the Asian Games, it has been a tradition to include events that are popular and important to the continent's identity. So on the similar lines, okay, even India can include yoga in the Olympics. Like other host nations, USA and China, they have also included many of their regional games into Olympics. So our author says that Mihir Vasavada says that see for India also there is no reason to be shy. Yes, India can definitely promote yoga in Olympics also and in the Asian Games also. Okay. Now, if in the case of mains, if they ask you what is your opinion, so you can write the yes and no by taking into consideration this article. Okay, so you can take the opinion of the Tara Das and you can take the opinion of Mihir Vaswada and you can put into the answer. Okay. Then for your information, as we all are aware that June 21 is celebrated as International Yoga Day every year. And this year the theme was Yoga for Self and Society. Okay, Yoga for Self and Society. Last year the theme was Yoga for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Okay. Now, this was a question in CDS. Last year, there was a question in CDS with respect to the themes. So, if you're preparing for such, and if you notice that even UPSC is asking factual questions, you can get it. Okay. 50,000, the next article says that 50,000 villages in 310 districts. Government prepares a plan for climate resilient farming. Okay. So article from from the economy perspective. Also, it is from the environment perspective where we are focusing on climate resilient farming. Okay. So Union government is planning to unveil a framework to promote climate resilient agriculture in 50,000 villages located in climatically vulnerable districts. Okay, so such agricultural practices which help the farmers to deal with the changes in the that are occurring due to global warming, due to climate change. Okay, so how to make our agriculture resilient? So what might be the changes in the climate or global whatever is happening? How we can protect our fields? So that the plan Indian government is making. Okay, so that we are uh, that is being mentioned over here. So this initiative is a part of national program on climate resilient agriculture, which the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare plans to launch as a part of 100 days agenda. So while the final print, basically the draft is being prepared, it is not yet out, okay? But it says that the framework may include measures such as promoting crops that are less water intensive, okay? So such crops which require less amount of water, like for example, millets, okay? So they are and less water intensive crop, whereas sugarcane is the crop which requires a lot of water. Even rice requires a lot of water, but millets, on the contrary, it requires considerably less water, and the nutritional content is also up to the mark. Okay, then the next the measure which is expected to be that is conserving water sources in the respective areas. Okay, so whatever water sources are there that you need to conserve, and monitoring fertilizer inputs. Okay, so this may be included in the framework, which is not yet out. Fine. The sources said that the officials will select 50,000 villages from 310 districts, and these villages are those villages that have already been, or these districts are those districts that have already been declared or identified as climatically they are vulnerable. And out of this 310 districts, okay, which are spread across 27 states of the 27 states. The maximum districts are from UP. Around 48 districts are from UP, followed by Rajasthan, 27 districts. So further, it mentions that India needs two-pronged strategy with respect to climate resilient agriculture. Okay, so what is it, and especially with respect to managing water? So what is the two-pronged strategy? First of all, on the supply side. Okay, so on the supply side, it must augment buffer stocking of water. Okay, so we know that in India, the throughout the year we do not have the distribution of water, right? We get water in the monsoon season for majority of the India. Okay, yes. South India, on the east coast, we get it during the northeast monsoon season as well. But usually for the entire country, we get in the 3 months southwest monsoon. So during that period, we need to do the buffer stocking of water. Okay, so that has to be done. Apart from that, we also have to focus on recharge of the groundwater. Okay, so recharge of the groundwater has to be done through check dams and watersheds. Okay, second thing, so this is on the supply side, and it says that further on the demand side also you have to work. So demand side, that is rational allocation and efficient use of water. Fine. So that is being mentioned. Let's come towards the next article. So next article, it is about Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay. So international relations from GS2 perspective. So what is the ongoing story? So on July 4th, final day of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit occurred in Kazakhstan capital Astana. Okay, and India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, he had a discussion talks with Foreign Minister of China Wang Yi. Okay, now nothing productive happened in this summit, but we'll just have an understanding about Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Right now, what is important? Let us try to understand. So first of all, Shanghai, this idea of Shanghai as an organization, it came in 1996. Okay, originally 5 countries. Okay, they decided of forming such organization. Okay, so these 5 countries are called as Shanghai Five. So these 5 countries are China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. Later on, in 2001, Shanghai Cooperation Organization was formed with 6 members. So these 5, the original 5 countries who sowed the seed of the organization, they were there. Plus there was one more country which was the 6th member, Uzbekistan, as the 6th member. Okay, and then gradually the membership of the organization went on increasing. So these 6 members were there in 2001 when the organization was formed. Then in 2017, 2 more members were joined. So one is our country, India, and second is Pakistan. So then the membership became 8. Okay. Then in 2023, one more member was included. That was Iran. Iran joined. So membership became 9. And presently in 2024, one more member. So that you need to remember that in 2024, one more member joined Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So in 2024, Belarus joined it as the 10th member. So please remember this. So Belarus is the new member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, so that is important from the exam perspective. Fine. So organization was founded in 2001, and currently there are 10 members. The latest one being Belarus. The next article, too much milk powder. From the economy perspective, it's a very short-term article. Indian dairy farmers, they have hit with the new problem, and the new problem is the problem of surplus. So whenever there is a surplus of something, definitely what will happen if there is no, there's a surplus supply and demand is not up to the mark, what will happen? Prices will crash. So that is being happening. So kiska surplus is there? There's a surplus of a skimmed milk powder, fine. So cooperatives and the private dairies, they are holding approximately 3 to 3.25 lakh tons of skimmed milk powder. Okay, so that is being mentioned. So the key takeaways over here: cow milk contains 3.5% of fat and 8.5% of solids. Solids, these are not fats. Okay, and the same thing if you consider the buffalo milk. In buffalo milk, you have a fat of 6.5%. Okay, nearly you can say double. And when we talk about yeah solids, so here we have a solid, that is, just a second, yeah, so solids we have 9%. Okay, now we all know that the milk is perishable, so it cannot be stocked. Okay, so so in milk powder, what is there? So in milk powder, only the solid, that is, you can see 8.5% solids, that is this SNF, okay, solid not fat, that portion, and separately fat that is being stored. So in milk, what are the components? You have fat, you have SNF, solids which are not fats, okay, plus you have cream. Okay, so cream is taken out because cream cannot be stored, so cream is taken out, and then fat and SNF, solids not fat, they are being stocked. Okay, they are being stored. And whenever there is a lean season where you do not have much of the milk production, what do? The little milk is there, they add water, and in that water they add this solids, fat and SNF, so that the thickness of the milk is being maintained. So the article says that now in the market there is a too much of milk powder which is being produced in India, because we know that India is the world's largest producer of milk. Okay, so that could be the reason. Next article, private papers of public figures like Nehru and the rule governing them. Okay, so related to current events of India, government initiatives, let us try to understand what is the ongoing story. Prime Minister's Museum and Library, PMML, has decided that it will not permit future donors of private papers of eminent personalities to impose indefinite conditions on declassification of such material. Okay, so basically the article says that like you have certain personalities, like for example Nehru. So there are certain private papers of Nehru, like the letters written to him and all. So some people come and they hand over these things to government museums, libraries, archives, to be stored over there. But then they impose conditions. Okay, that yeah, this should be declassified after so and so years, or this should be not declassified. Okay, so now it is being said that the government will not permit such imposition of conditions on declassification. So if you are submitting the private papers, you are not allowed to impose such indefinite conditions on declassification. Declassification means what? You are saying that the material is no longer secret. You are declassifying. It's open to all. Okay. So what are the key takeaways? Let us try to understand. Jawaharlal Nehru's papers were the first set of private papers which were obtained by Prime Minister's Museum and Library, which was set up originally as Nehru Memorial Museum and Library in the memory of India's first Prime Minister. Okay, so Nehru's private papers were the first set of papers which were taken by PMML and which were maintained. Okay, now this transfer was facilitated by Indira Gandhi as the legal heir to Nehru. Okay, and she was the owner of these documents until her assassination. Now presently PMML has the largest collections of the private documents, and these are of different personalities of India: Gandhi, Ambedkar, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Bhikaji, Madam Bhikaji Kama, Chaudhry Charan Singh. So different personalities, their private papers are there with the government. Okay. Now who give this papers? So these papers are being submitted from the family members, friends. Okay. institutions, universities, they come and they submit these papers, and then these papers are open for research, okay, for scholars. They are made available to the scholars and to the researchers, okay. So now this museum, PMML, this museum is under the Ministry of Culture. So they have decided that under normal circumstances, permit only 5-year embargo from the date of receipt of any new papers. And in the rare cases, it can be for 10 years. So only for 5 years, you can say that you can keep them as secret, okay. Or in the rare conditions, it could be for 10 years. Similarly, it's with respect to this also. The other organization that acquires private collections in the country, the National Archives of India, which is again under the Culture Ministry, it also says that uh, only those papers will be acquired where the donors agree to declassify. That is, the donor say that yes, the declassify means that the papers are open for view. Okay, so it says that we are going to accept only those papers where the donor who is donating the paper says that yes, the papers can be declassified. And the PMML says that we are ready to, we will be putting a condition that yes, the papers will be secret for 5 years, but then later from that, we will make it open. Okay, open for research activity for scholars. And in rare cases, with terms and conditions for 10 years. Okay. The public record rules 1997, okay, they cover declassification of all kinds of records and correspondence in India. For official records, okay, the rule says that the responsibility for declassification, it is with the respective organization, and that record should be ordinarily be declassified in 25 years. Okay, so just remember that there are public record rules 1997. So if there are any public record means records of the central government, ministry, department or office of government, okay, PMO, president office, those records, okay. So for those records, the responsibility is of the respective organization, and in 25 years, it should be declassified. So if UPSC, you get a question that according to the public record rules, okay, in how many years ordinarily, okay, in how many years a public record has to be declassified. So answer is 25 years, okay. And the definition of public record, you can find over here. So the definition of public record encompasses any record in relation to the central government, any ministry, department, office of the government, including PMO and president's office, okay. So that's it from this article. Let's come towards the next article. New model of producer price index to capture input prices better on annual. Okay. So it's an article from Economy, Indian Economy, GS paper 3 and prelims perspective. So what is the ongoing story? Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So its secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh on Friday said that the department has finalized a new model of producer price index. Okay, so producer price, see, up till now India does not calculate this producer price index, but now they are planning that. So producer price index, it's mainly used by IMF. Okay, producer price index, it's mainly used by IMF and the advanced economies. So now India is also planning to release producer price index, and what model, what formula, what base year will be there, that they are now basically working on it. Okay, so what are the key takeaways? Okay, so key takeaways. So first of all, what is producer price index? From the name itself, we come to know it takes into consideration the change in the prices from the perspective of a producer. Okay, so average change in the selling prices received by the domestic producer for goods and services, excluding indirect taxes. Okay, so first of all, it will include both goods and services, but indirect taxes are minus. Okay, they are not there. So you will get an overview from the producer perspective. Okay, it measures the prices of goods sold by the producer to the wholesaler. Okay, so first point, remember, both goods and services are there. Indirect taxes are not there. Second thing, it will measure the prices of goods sold by a producer to the wholesaler. Fine. Unlike wholesale price index, okay, PPI includes services. So remember that wholesale price index, no services. Fine. So that is there. So hence, PPI covers will give a very comprehensive picture. PPI is not currently measured in India. It is not currently calculated in India. Okay. Further, Mr. Sinha also said that the government is also working on changing the base year of wholesale price index. Okay. So currently the base year for the wholesale price index is 2011, 2012. So government is planning to change this as well. Okay. One note for important thing, one note which is important. RBI, we all know, does the targeting of the inflation, which is between 2% to 6%. Okay. So on what is the parameter used by RBI? So RBI uses CPI All India. Okay. So CPI All India. So I've mentioned over your note. You can see the last point over your note. At present, RBI Act requires a central bank to control the inflation between 2% to 6%. Headline inflation, CPI All India combined. Okay. So please remember, it is CPI All India combined. Okay. So that you need to remember. So let's have a understanding about these different inflation indexes. Okay. So consumer price index, we have rural, we have urban, and we have all India. Okay. So consumer price index, it's calculated by NSO under MOSPI. Base year is 2012. Consumer food price index. Okay. So CPI food price index. Okay. Again, the base year is 2012 by NSO. Fine. So these are by NSO base year, 1 year less than the wholesale price index. Then consumer price index, industrial workers. So you can see over here, consumer price index, industrial workers, this one. Then rural laborers, agricultural laborers. So whatever is related to workers and laborers, it is definitely done by Labor Ministry, okay? Labor Bureau. So for industrial workers, the base year is 2016. And for rural laborers and agri laborers, it's 1986. Then wholesale price index, economic advisor to DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce. So here the base year is 2011. Okay. So remember, consumer price index by MOSPI, NSO, and wholesale price index by economic advisor to DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Fine. Now the difference between CPI and WPI. See, CPI monitors prices plus indirect taxes, whereas WPI ignores taxes. Okay. Even in the producer price index, no indirect taxes. CPI gives higher weightage to food. WPI gives higher weightage to manufacturing articles. CPI captures services. WPI, no services. WPI only goods. Okay. So let us try to solve an MCQ from the year 2020. What is the MCQ? So, the weightage of food in consumer price index is higher than that in wholesale price index. Absolutely correct. In the consumer price index, the higher weightage is given to food, okay? And in wholesale price index to manufacturing activity and articles. WPI does not capture changes in prices of services, which, yes, absolutely. WPI, no services, only goods. CPI includes it. So 1 and 2 are definitely correct. RBI has now adopted WPI as its key measure of inflation to decide on changing. No, we have just now understood that the not RBI uses CPI All India. Okay, so this is the wrong one. So your answer is 1 and 2 only. That is A. Okay, so answer is A. That is 1 and 2 only. This one. Fine. So that's it for the day. Thank you.